Hello, everybody. Welcome to my hair seems to be all frazzled there, but welcome to this week's Game Wisdom Live for the week of May 27th, 2018. We are officially one day away from Memorial Day. It's a pretty somber Memorial Day weekend here. It's been raining for the last few days here. But as always, my co-host is video game producer Rob Leach. How are you doing, Rob? And how's the weather where you're at?
I'm doing well, and the weather's doing well. So can't complain too much.
Trying something fancy here. I figure out how to do like switching our picture-in-picture. So I'll be trying to keep the video a little bit different as we're talking.
Well, I don't want to scare people with my suddenly larger face when I talk, so maybe I'll be silent this time.
We'll see. Let me raise you up just a little bit so the folks can hear you. There we go.
Chris. So are you in London? It looks like it's fun over there right now. Oh, okay.
And one second, I'm going to take my headset off.
Yeah, the reports in Los Angeles are nice.
Must be getting close for me to get a haircut. My hair seems to be getting out of control again.
Yeah, for what it's worth, mine is too, but it's kind of a different situation over here.
But it's been a fairly interesting week here for game wisdom related news and for the game industry itself. So I guess to start with some sad news, John Bane of Total Biscuit fame sadly passed away this week with his bout with cancer. And at 34, too, he's 1 year older than me. And it's been a very interesting time on Twitter, with some people really liking him, other people, of course, decrying him for his thoughts on Gamergate. But I guess love him or hate him, he was still an influential part of the game industry, and one of the first consumers, I think, to really boost himself up to the point of discussing industry topics.
Yeah, it is. It is sad. I know. My wife was wondering if this is the first of such people of that kind of profile. And boy, it is. It's a little odd because I'm not used to that sector of the games business kind of passing away like that. It's a little eye opening. It's weird. I know it shouldn't be weird, but it just kind of is. And I guess shocking is one word to use.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of people really started to pay attention to the video game, the industry side, thanks to his reports, and of course his commentary with StarCraft as well, kind of also helped propel him into popular culture.
Yeah.
But we'll see how things go, especially with the state of video games on YouTube. We've seen, I mean, that's probably a topic too. That's probably its own cast right there. Discuss that, but we're seeing a lot of people try to be like the next, Total Biscuit or Jimquisitions. Someone was linking me a video, or Cliff Lozinski was linking a video of his, of someone put up saying, Cliff Lozinski's career is dead, and he's like, wait. Am I dead right now? So we're seeing a lot of people try to jump onto that kind of bandwagon.
Yeah, it's a rough business, as you well know. Trying to make a name for yourself, especially online, it's difficult, and I'm only looking in from the sidelines.
Yeah, and with that kind of publicity, again, it's caused a lot of people to try to be huge on YouTube. I mean, type in gaming on YouTube and how many people are going to pop up with random thoughts about who knows what.
Yeah, and of course most of the time it is this is myself and you, and included in this is let's plays and more reviews of AAA titles than folks who will actually explore the industry and have commentary that kind of goes through the entire gamut, which is kind of refreshing, and to lose someone who does a lot of that kind of sucks. So.
Yeah. But I guess moving on to at least some happier news. The book is going well that I'm writing right now. We're at the point where I'm now learning just how much of a pain it is going to be collecting rights-free images from various sites and places. So Nintendo has officially said no, which means I'm going to have to get creative if I want to use two of their games. Oh, I finally got a hold of Valve, and they actually have a press contact. It's hidden somewhere.
Awesome.
I'm hearing a lot of like background noise. Is that like a fan or?
It's a fan in Skype. Sometimes the background, the noise canceller works, and sometimes it doesn't. I can't really turn it off. There's no other airflow in what is my lovely closet. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, I will be moving out of the stupid closet. Jokes aside, yeah, no, new apartment hopefully coming soon.
All right, we'll be looking forward to that. But
yes, we will.
But getting back to the topic, yeah. So the book is pretty much written, like in terms of everything I want in there. That's done. It's now the part about me writing up the abstracts and trying to get those images. So 2 have gone back definitively. Yes, I've got their images. They're all, locked up. They're in the book. But I still have 18 more entries to go. And we're almost going to be about half a month away. So fingers crossed I can get it all done by then.
Yeah. It's kind of, that kind of rights grabbing and stuff. That seems like a nightmare, and I wish you the best on that.
Oh, thank you. But here's hoping things will get better. Now, I've been doing some more talking with other Josh behind the scenes, so he keeps convincing me that I need to start learning to do video editing. So once the book is all finished, I think that will be the next little pet project, since I'm already doing things with new thumbnails for the various vlogs. So here's hoping things will go better that way.
Yeah, and it's not so bad. It really isn't. It adds a lot of polish to some videos that you're going to do that launch in the future, and it's not, you don't have to do a ton, but it does, it adds a lot. I know a lot of people, especially in the YouTube area, it's a very competitive space, so any little bit helps.
Now, since we just started the live show, I want to give you guys a heads up about some of the postings and so that's coming this week. Obviously, Monday being Memorial Day, or at least here in the United States for the international folks, I'm not going to be posting a Dissecting Design, but there will be 2 podcasts going up this week. Actually, oh man, it seems to be the week of 2. So I have 2 podcasts. We may be doing 2 live casts as well this week, so I'm going to be very busy, it looks like. So, the first thing that I'm going to be posting is going to be the live cast we did with Alexis Kennedy for his game Cultist Simulator. That is going to be probably going up either Monday or Tuesday. And then for this Friday, I'm going to be posting a audio cast I did with Shane Nevitt, who's currently working on the game Bunker Punks. That's coming out, I believe, this Monday or Tuesday. He's been working on a solo for 4.5 years. So it's finally out. So I figure I'll give him a little bit of a boost and try to get both casts up. And then this Tuesday at 10 p.m., we're going late, I'm going to be having Brian Cronin back, the developer behind One Last Job. He recently launched the Kickstarter for his tabletop game. And we're going to have him on to discuss what kind of things he's been doing and any lessons learned about Kickstarter. So, while I'm looking that up, I guess, for you, Rob, have you had a chance to look at any Kickstarters or do any, recent crowdfunding stuff?
No, I haven't. Not in a long time. Since I got out of Indie Voyage, I have not really had much of a chance to look at Kickstarters, except for the oddball, just thing I hear that I might be interested in. But it's been a while. I just know how tough it can be to do that. And I always look forward to hearing people's experiences on it, but most of the time it seems to come up fairly similar stories, like more preparation, which you'd done this and that and the other thing in terms of rewards and that kind of thing. But I am interested because everyone's experience is a little different. So looking forward to that.
Looks like the Kickstarter right now, they are just under 6,000 of their $40,000 goal. And looks like they have 34 days left to do it.
Oh
So,
wow, yeah.
fingers crossed he'll be able to get things going. We'll hopefully be having more to talk about this Tuesday night.
Now you said 34,000 of 40.
Oh no, they have 6,000. They need 40,000, so 34,000 to go.
Okay, yeah, that's. Oof, that could be good, but it's gonna be tight.
Mm-hmm. Hey Isaac, thanks for coming on. The Omen Night stream, I think I didn't post the archive of the first round. Maybe I'll do that over the next few days. And sorry for rubbing my nose so much. With all the rain and stuff going on, I'm in peak allergy mode once again. Plus, I think it's time for me to get my monthly shots too, which is always fun. Let me see what else. Oh yeah, the voice actor podcast. That we already did that. That will go up in archive form, I believe, in 2 to 3 weeks. There's still quite a few podcasts. Oh hey, Chow, thanks for coming on. There's still a few podcasts left in the backlog. I have one that I did with a YouTuber. I still have to do the one that I did with Ebby from Linden Labs. So that's going to be going up. I actually tell you when that one's going up. That will be next Friday, I believe. That will be not this one coming up, but the week after. That will be the 8th. Because they're going to be doing a special event, I believe. We're going to try and time it around that. Let me see. Anything else podcast related? No, I think that's it for right now. So, one last shop that'll be this Tuesday at 10 p.m. That'll probably take the place of our game stream, unless we end up early. Because I don't know how many people want to stick around and watch me play like at 12 o'clock at night. Although that seems to be the peak time. We get a lot of people around there for when I'm doing the Saturday night grab bags. I have a lot of Night Owl fans, apparently, Rob.
Yeah, night owls are the best. That's me included.
Mm-hmm. Let's skip. I guess with that, in terms of games we've played, for me it's been about Dark Souls Remastered. I was able to get a press key. I'm going to be writing up a review of it. So this is, I think, time number 5 or 6 I'm going through Dark Souls again.
Nice.
It seems to be like the game that just comes back to haunt me time after time.
Yeah, you'll be a speedrunner before you know it.
Mm-hmm. But I'm noticing some very weird quirks to it. I'm afraid to ask people about because I'll get the usual people saying, "No, you're just not good enough to play Dark Souls."
Yeah, screw those people. Everyone's good enough to play Dark Souls. I mean, not well, but can play it.
Mm-hmm. But what about you, Rob? Have you had a chance to play anything new this week?
The only new thing I will say this because I did the Windows update this last week, and it destroyed my computer. It somehow ruined my entire Windows install, so I have my computer as a brick right now, and I just have to, revive it over the next few days with new hardware. Basically, just a new drive that will install Windows on. I'm finally jumping into that newfangled SSD market.
Nice.
But the new game I did play was, gosh, what's it called? I think it's Osu. I believe it's pronounced OSU. It's just basically a rhythm game using mouse. And reason I jumped into that is because people were saying that it's a good way to increase your clicking accuracy and timing. So as I'm jumping into some of those games that require a lot of that, like I'm trying to get better at Dota, and people at work, they've been playing some Halo, so I suck at first-person shooters quite badly, so I'm trying to improve my skills there.
Nice. I played a rhythm game called Floor Kids last week. It's a breakdancing game that you play using time your presses to the rhythm. Probably won't teach you how to be better at mouse clicking, but it does have a funk rating, so that's always good.
Yeah, funk rating is good.
I think
Any
we
game
learned
that can throw that in there, yeah.
I'm sure they're doing that in the new Toe Jam and Earl game as well.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe funk rating is going to be the next big thing.
Mm-hmm. Draken asks, is the remaster the same game with higher graphics? They did. It runs at 60 frames per second, which it looks a lot smoother. But I'm noticing like certain animations seem sped up. Like to me, maybe it's just from not having played the game in like 4 months, but it feels like little things seem to be a little off. And there's a few areas that are a lot harder to look at. For anyone who did the level Darkroot Basin, it's like a forest kind of level. The backgrounds look even more washed out than they did before, so it makes it very hard to kind of spot, where the land ends and the bottomless pit of death begins. And right now, I just got to the Painted World and Anno Lundo. Anno Lundo looks amazing in HD. But I think what I'm noticing is that the areas that looked really good in the original Dark Souls look better, and then the ones that didn't look so good look worse now due to the HD upscaling. Let's see. Yeah,
I also want to mention. I'm sorry, Isaac, I missed your comment, but like, because my desktop is dead, I usually put the pop-out chat up there, so I'm looking up. Now I'm missing everything because it's lower. All right, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Let me see. Anything else playing wise? Let's see. I've been playing Bunker Punks. We've been doing some Moonlighter, which apparently I played the game so well I broke the game and then it actually started affecting my computer because it wasn't loading properly. So if El Gordo's watching, I broke another game. If you want to add that to my list of game breaks. Still need to play Frostpunk and Battletype, but I don't think my computer can handle it. At some point, if I hopefully start getting some money with the books or the Patreon or something, I want to start doing the ever lovely process of computer upgrades. But that will be for another day.
Gotta go with the iBuyPower with the monitor side panel. I don't know if I showed you that before. It's a side panel that is translucent, but it's also an LCD monitor.
Oh, I think you did talk about that.
Yeah, so you got to get that one, obviously.
Exactly, I need that bling going.
Yeah.
Let's see. One game that I've been hearing some good things about is the 2D game from that Blood Moon. That Kickstarter for the Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Well, they released a retro. It basically looks like Castlevania that came out. Here is Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, and it's been getting some really good reviews. Apparently, it was free for anyone who kickstarted the main game, so it's $10 on Steam. I put in a press key, but if I don't get it, I may just have to bite the bullet and go for it because I do love me a Castlevania style game.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
hard to resist.
If you look at the screenshots on the Steam page right now, it looks like Castlevania. Or actually, now it really reminds me of Curse of Isios, that game from Loco Molito that I played on stream a few months ago.
Okay, hold on. What's it called again?
Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
All right.
I mean, yeah, that looks like Castlevania 3 to me. Although the bosses look like they have a little bit more detail to them.
Fantasy violence and mild blood.
And by the way, after I mentioned Castlevania, I'm hearing the Castlevania theme in my head right now.
Of course.
And that's going to be stuck there probably for the remainder of this podcast or the remainder of this stream.
And added to my wish list.
I need to think of a retro game to play tonight. I guess, would Shovel Knight be considered retro at this point? Do you think I can get around that?
I mean, it's weird because it is a retro game, but it is not that old. That's a weird question. Like, let's say it's 10 years from now and you play a retro game that's now, but it was made for retro. It's very meta. But that's a strange question. I mean, it certainly was designed to be retro feeling. So, I don't know, maybe.
Or we could, and technically Dark Souls is older than Shovel Knight at this point. So I guess Dark Souls is considered retro?
There you go.
There you go. There's our philosophical question for today.
Yes.
Everybody, let's just think about that for the next hour.
have to bust out Oregon Trail or Lunar Lander. Get one of those. Super retro.
Mm-hmm. Or we can, well, I guess I could go back and play some more Dark Souls Remastered. I'm right now about halfway done, and I'm at the hard stuff, so people will probably enjoy watching me die a lot on stream.
Yeah, I need to go through and watch your Devil May Cry play. I saw you did.
Mm-hmm. One night we went through the whole game, which reminds
Sheesh.
me I need to go. Oh, I still have to play Devil May Cry 2 and 3, which also could be considered retro at this point.
Definitely. Are you playing on PC or console?
Console, the PS4 version.
You should go back and play the Onimusha. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Very similar. Love it.
I never got into Onimusha. That's a weird thing. I played a little bit of the one with Jean Reno in it, and then that was it. Like, I never...
No, that one's terrible.
It was all good until they decided to dub everybody.
Yeah. Ugh. Even the second one started out really well. It has one of the best game intros that I can ever remember having seen.
Yeah. Is it available on PSN now, or no?
That I don't know. I have not played a modern PlayStation in some time.
Oh. That Detroit Become Human game came out. It's getting a lot of polarizing discussions, too.
Yeah, I wanted to watch a stream of that yesterday, but I could not.
Let's see. No, I don't think it's available. Let's see. No, only Musha.
Capcom, get on your game.
Yeah. Let's see. Anything else game related before we move on? No, just a lot of games I still have to look at through press keys. We may be doing a podcast on Wednesday with another developer. I need to get in touch with them tonight or tomorrow to confirm. And I think that's about it. Let's see. In terms of game industry related news, I do want to talk about a post from Polygon this past week about Splatterhouse, but that will be our main topic. Oh, they did announce that Killer 7 is going to be released. They're bringing that back on Steam later this year. Did you ever play the original Killer 7?
That's one I'd been wanting to play. I never got around to it, so that would be good for me for it to come back out.
There's a very interesting piece on Gamma Sutra regarding one of the level designers from Payday 2 posted a post-mortem on how they designed one of the stealth levels to be replayable. And as someone who played the heck out of Payday 2, it was very interesting to read that. And how they basically built this map to have some elements of RNG to keep the stealth kind of different or inconsistent on each play. Posted a link.
That's interesting. Yeah, I do like hearing about that. That's the kind of a discussion that I don't generally have to ever get involved in. The level design of a game is most games I've worked on don't require a lot of level design, except for a couple of the indie games I did. But that's it. Level design is tough, and I haven't really had to worry about it too much.
And let's see, anything, I guess for you, Rob, anything going on in your neck of the woods with 2K, like any industry stuff?
Well, yeah, every week is the NBA 2K League, which is the project I'm working on, and I'm all caught up. I'm an expert in the league now. I have to watch it every day and be like on call in case something goes wrong. But it is awesome. It's a lot of fun. Don't know what else to say, but certainly I can try and answer questions if any come up. But I know most folks will not be interested in that particular title. I know esports in general is you're either into it or you're not kind of a thing. And that particular esport is a little polarizing. So.
Speaking about esports, they did announce that the Fortnite, they're going to have a big league of Fortnite with a big championship with a prize pool of $100 million.
That's ridiculous.
So, Rob, I think you know what we need to do. We're going to have to start training Fortnite now.
Yeah, there you go. The whole concept of a battle royale esport is a little odd to me, simply because I don't know. How do you have a particular star? Like, there's no teams. It's just a whole bunch of individuals, unless they do have teams somehow, and they all just fight it out. And how do you get a league? Is it just everyone in the league plays one game every day or something like that? How many people do you have in this league? How crazy is it? That's a weird question to me because I mean, it is probably the least traditional of an esports setup that you can have.
Yeah. I think it's going to run into a very weird issue that I think it's going to be really hard to focus on watching people play that. Because typically, like, for most people who watch Battle Royale games now, they tune to their favorite streamer. If you're watching Ninja, Dr. Disrespect, or anyone else like that, you're getting their POV and that's it. But with something like, if you're trying to broadcast a Battle Royale game, I mean, how are you really going to show that? I think it's going to run into a bigger problem than Overwatch did, you know, with their, I think it's like 5-on-5 teams going at it. Like, how are you really going to broadcast 100 people and 100 different POVs at once?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I know I've been watching a little Overwatch, and they really, as far as, at least as me as a viewer is concerned, and again, I watch Dota, and there's a lot of complexities going on there that even after watching for a year, don't fully understand. But like Overwatch, it is just like explosion of color
Yeah.
and randomness. And if you go from one person's POV, which they do all the time, like 90% of the show is from one of the players' POV, you're missing a ton of stuff that's going on around, very strategic stuff that's going on. So I wish they did more of a zoomed out, which is what I would expect them to do in Fortnite, is just a giant looking at the map and just seeing where people are positioning themselves. And you can kind of, one of the interesting things about that is you can see that someone is, you know, building their, like, just building stuff or looking for things or chopping down trees or whatever, and meanwhile someone else is approaching them from behind. Like, that's something you'd be able to see as a viewer in kind of a map view that you wouldn't necessarily see in a stream, which I think is interesting. But yeah, you'd be hopping around an awful lot or focusing on just a few players until such time as the field was whittled down to like a manageable 10 people or so.
And I guess here's a question. Chances are probably our audience will probably know this more than we. But has anyone kind of stepped up to be like a Fortnite or Battle Royale commentator? Like, going back to, of course, like Total Biscuit for a second, he first kind of rose to fame doing StarCraft 2 commentary. And I know of several people in that field, like Day 9. I used to watch Husky back in the day when I was still watching StarCraft. But has anyone, like, is there like a market for like a Fortnite commentator?
Me, I don't know, but obviously, if they're doing an esport, they are definitely looking for people, and I don't know who they look for. Like, from the esport perspective of NBA 2K, yeah, Chris, I can totally understand, and you're probably in a better place for it, for that particular or lack of knowledge. But from the esports thing, I know with NBA 2K, they managed to find four amazing commentators. Like, the people who do the play-by-play, the guy is perfect. And when I watch Dota or League of Legends, the people they get about 80% of the time are amazing. Like, their play-by-play is astounding because so much is going on and it has to all be described. Overnight, they're like halfway there. They have people who are very knowledgeable about it and can speak to what's going on, but they don't translate it for people who are not familiar. And the action is so fast in that game that, you know, you hear a line and you can't connect it with something that's going on the screen. So with me not knowing all that much about Overwatch, Dota at least has these long periods of kind of silence where things aren't going on and you can describe what just happened in a big fight, or what's going on the screen. But in Overwatch, it's just all fast all the time, and I find that from, I don't want to call it quarter to quarter, but from game to game, of the 4 rounds, from round to round, each round has a different objective, and I noticed that they don't really explain that objective at the beginning of each round, which to me is tough, makes it tougher to get into. they mostly are talking about the players, which I don't know nor care about these players very much right now. I'd rather understand the game first and then get into each individual.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, one of the things I was talking to other Josh about when it comes to like esports getting mainstream notoriety. I think a big part of that is going to have to be stepping up their game in terms of commentary and just the overall presentation. Like we see this when, if you watched E-League when they did CS:GO, and how they try to explain what's going on, they make it a lot easier. Ooh, did someone get cut out?
It looks like the stream is cut. Yeah, I'm getting a lack of.
Uh-oh. I'm still going. Ooh. We're buffering right now. That's not good. Ooh, that's a lovely cipher to be stuck on, too. I don't think it's anything on my end.
Well, let's see. Maybe YouTube in general. It's unlikely, but you never know.
Wait, we're getting like some very... Wait, I think we're back.
Are we back? We're back. Ha ha ha.
Weird. Great, you can see my lovely hair sticking in weird directions again, folks. Perfect. Huh. Alright, well, getting back to my train of thought then. Maybe Epic heard I was talking bad about Fortnite and they decided to cancel the stream. They're watching me right now.
Yeah.
But getting back to the topic there, one of the big things about like bringing that commentary to the mainstream is being able to properly display that information. It's one of the reasons why I think the fighting game genre has done so well. It's very easy to process what's going on. One guy on the left, one guy on the right, health bars, one guy runs out, you lose. It's why it's very easy to process what's going on with football. You get to the end of the field, you get a touchdown. But I think one of the things that's going to be a big struggle as people are trying to legitimize esports in mainstream is that they gotta make it easier to process if you're not the super hardcore fan.
Yeah.
Like again, I couldn't even imagine watching something like LoL or Dota and trying to figure out what's going on when all of a sudden all the teams are in the middle and people are dying and messing up and all craziness there. I think it's another reason why we were talking about virtual card games have also grown in popularity. It has that simplistic nature to it that makes it a lot easier to see what's going on. And then because it's on the slower side, you have the commentary who can actually sit there and explain why, why is he using this card? What are his available plays? It's the same thing again with football, where you hear like the commentary, okay, maybe this team can do a pass this time. And again, I'm not a football person, so take any football talk from me with a grain of salt. But it does just make it a lot easier to look at. I think this is also why we kind of ran into that problem with a mainstream real-time strategy games. We were talking about this last night on during our grab bag, that the RTS genre has kind of gone the way of the dodo, at least in terms of the mainstream, with a greater focus on the MOBA style.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a good reason for that, mostly because I think the multiplayer aspect for an RTS helps. The one-on-one aspect I think can be confusing. I need to sit down and watch some StarCraft 2, some competitive StarCraft 2. That would help me kind of figure out why I'm not as interested. Maybe it's just because RTS games were a pain in the butt to me, and I prefer MOBAs. But like when I do want to go back to the comment about figuring out the goal of a player. Just like in football, you get to the end zone, and in hockey, you score a goal. Same with basketball. It's easy to understand. The one objective is met, and that's a point. In a MOBA, while I feel like ultimately the objective is super simple, you get to the other person, you destroy the other person's home base, and you're done. That's the win. And that is the goal. And if they just said that at the front every single time, they said, okay, for you new folks, the objective is just to go over there and destroy that base. There's a lot of stuff you need to do to get there. That would be pretty interesting. I know one very confusing aspect that I feel like I don't get to talk to many people about MOBAs, but it's very confusing because they have a scoreboard up top.
Mm-hmm.
The scoreboard counts kills, and
But
right beneath the scoreboard it counts gold, like the gold lead. Both League of Legends and Dota do
mm-hmm.
this. Neither of those
Yeah,
things tell you who's winning.
it's kind of like Harry Potter with Quidditch. There's
Yeah,
points, but whoever grabs that ball, whatever, wins at the end. So it's like the points don't really
yeah,
matter.
yeah, exactly. And you grab the 100-point thing, and suddenly you're 100 points ahead, and you win.
Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, I think, the thing, going back to Chris's comment about StarCraft-like machines, I think that was one of the things that kind of stopped me from really getting into, or that kind of caused me to stop following StarCraft, was that it just became very mechanical at that level. I was like, oh, this person's going to his, two-worker rush strategy. Okay, well, he's going to counter with this. And then we spend 5-10 minutes of them building up to do another strategy. Like, it didn't have that same sense of, I guess, improvisation that we see in games like the fighting game genre and stuff like that. And again, even with something like card games, you can tell, oh, this person's won 2 matches, well, he's one away from winning. Very simple, you can follow it that way.
Right. Yeah. Oh gosh, what I was gonna say. And, I mean, I'll come to the defense of MOBAs all the time because I enjoy watching them so much. But it does. It becomes confusing, and I think in StarCraft it can become a little repetitive. I think in League and Dota they've solved that problem by having a quasi-infinite number of player combinations or character combinations. So you cannot have the same strategy every time, or not. And I'm speaking out of just out of school for the StarCraft thing. I don't know. I will caveat everything I'm saying about StarCraft the same way you caveated football. I don't know. But it seems to me like there's a little more of I'm going to do this same prep work every single time, and that's how I start my game. But in Dota you can't do that because the characters and your opponents will not let you do that.
And the other advantage I think Dota and LoL have, at least with the different champions, they do mix things up. So it's not the same as in StarCraft. There's only so many possible ways a match can play. Terran versus Terran, Terran versus Zerg, so on and so forth.
Yeah. I do think the options. I think this is the part that is toughest about esports is what exactly defines the audience. Because I know the audience, one, is generally into esports. And so they're a little geekier and more willing to learn really complex mechanics. And I know I'm going to go back to NBA 2K League because it is unique. And I mean, I am working on it. And yes, I do like to pimp it because I enjoy it quite a bit. I love watching it. I think it's amazing. But it is one of those esports that is a crossover. It is a crossover between a live sport and a digital sport or a digital game. And that makes it really difficult because you have people who understand the game of basketball watching. But the differences between NBA 2K or NBA Live or whatever basketball video game you want to play and real basketball are immense, no matter how realistic they want to make it. So you have crossover from someone who can understand the core concept of basketball and a lot of the strategies there, but it takes a quick turn into esports when you realize how gamey it can be. And the opposite holds true for esports fans, is that you come in and you watch this game and you know there's going to be a lot of quirky digital stuff, but it's too much like a real sport to get into. So we're hoping the crossover is positive, that we're teaching new fans of esports about esports, and maybe bringing over some hardcore people to understand the intricacies of the game. And that it's a long-term plan, unlike Overwatch and sounds like Fortnite, where just so much money is being dumped into it. I feel like esports right now is the biggest gamble on the planet because a lot of esports are making money, but these new ones, there's too many coming out to all make money, and that's going to be. I feel like some studios are going to just completely die because of that. I don't know where Dota stands these days, but I do know it makes money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't put the bill for the international prize pool. That is one of the most brilliant strategies I've ever heard. They're like, you know what? We're going to let the fans make the
Mm-hmm.
pool for the international. And I know it was over $10 million last time I checked, and I'm sure it's going to be. I'm hoping it's way higher than last year's 23 million.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for one tournament, that's quite a bit of money. And when someone says a certain amount of money in as a prize pool, like where is that money coming from, and who's footing that bill, and how are they making that money back? Because Fortnite is popular, but like you said, the streamers are possible. The content creators are probably the popular part of that, but
Mm-hmm.
not the sport itself.
Yeah. Hey, Viking, thanks for coming on. And yet, just as you were just saying there, Rob, that at some point, I think we're going to hit that very similar thing that happened to the MMO market of the last decade with the whole Battle Royale. And I think this is one of those very big issues. That a lot of people see Fortnite, they see $100 million prize pool, and they go, well, our game, we made a game, we could earn half of that. We'll be, rich, we'll be able to keep this going forever.
Yeah,
But the thing is, you can't associate. I forget if I spoke with Josh or Ramin about this, but it's a difference between saying that the genre is making that money or the game is making that money. And
yeah,
right now, Battle Royale is not making a lot of money. Fortnite is making a ton of money. There's no denying that.
right.
But is there going to be an actual market for these games? I mean, we were saying this about PUBG. Like, I know we had this conversation like 6, 7 months ago, but at that point there was no competitors, and then Fortnite has kind of been. It's almost like Fortnite is the WoW equivalent of EverQuest to World of Warcraft back in the day. EverQuest kind of started the trend, but WoW picked it up and ran with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to comment really quick to Isaac. Rocket League is actually it's fun to watch. It's another one of those that's actually very easy to grasp the core concept of, and I feel like that's one thing that just brought a bunch of people in right away. But it's very arcadey, and that brings the esports people in because it is so arcadey and it's fun to watch and it's fast and it's easy to understand who's good and why from a gamer perspective. So it is. They do a good job. They do a really good job on that game. It's very. I feel like it's very popular in Europe. Less so here, but I know a lot of big fans.
Uh,
But yeah, like you're saying, with the money being pumped into this stuff, and it's all gambles. And the one thing that to compare the strategies of these companies dumping $100 million in 1 year,
mm-hmm.
$100 million. There are no games out there that cost that much
No.
to make. There's no game out there that costs that much to make, and there's very few games that will ever even say they've earned that much. I know when I'm talking about NBA 2K League, I know, and the NBA and 2K have both said this, they're dedicated to making this long term. The NBA is dedicated to just letting this grow naturally over the course of years and years and years and years. And that's why this initial year, the prize pool is $100,000. And I tell people that, who aren't into esports, they're like, oh my God, that's a ton of money. But when you multiply that by a factor of 100 or 1,000, is it 100 or 1,000? It's 100. Um, sorry, it's 1,000. God damn it. Oh, sorry. Apologies. Um, that's mind blowing, and it's a risk.
Mm-hmm.
Like the NBA can say that they're going to support this for years and years and years, and the prize pool being $100,000. Well, chances are, even if it's not that popular year one, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to make a decent amount back.
Yeah.
And the you can calculate all the expense they're doing, and it's expensive. It's a sport, for gosh sakes. But like, it's the NBA being as big as it is, it can weather that storm. Some of these game companies, I don't know what's going to happen to them. Like
Mm-hmm.
even a Blizzard, if they threw away $100 million, they'd be hurting. Like these big companies, they lay people off for a reason, and to lose that much money and to just because you're not only paying the $100 million prize pool, you're paying for infrastructure, you're paying for production. If you can convince Twitch to do it for you, well, that's great. But like footing the bill, I wonder about these people because I feel like you see these stars. I feel like it happened. The bubble's gonna burst, just like the
Mm-hmm.
early games industry. all these people, and the .coms more specifically, is that, oh, websites are super popular now and you can make money with advertising and I'm going to throw a ton of money into this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you don't understand esports, and I imagine a lot of these people don't, because I hear the people investing in buying teams
Mm-hmm.
are athletes and musicians and artists who don't even have a toe in the waters of video games. Kurt Schilling being the biggest sports star that I can think of that put a toe in the water of video games, and if you know who he is and his relationship to video games, you know what happened there, and it was not pretty. So I do feel like it's a lot of ignorance with money. I think people are investing in something that they see as being a huge possibility of making money back, and it's exciting too because you get to own a team. How great does that sound? But the bottom's going to fall out because you realize I don't think anybody knows exactly how to make money off of this stuff. I think even in Dota and even in League, it's like if you have a venue and you're trying to make money off of it, you're not making a ton. Maybe you're making a good amount, but the prize pools for those smaller tournaments, the majors and minors, aren't even close to what the international is. The top tier is going to be maybe $1 million, but 500,000 is a high amount for a major tournament in Dota. And Dota's got a lot of money. So I don't think there's that much money to be had right now in esports, especially given how many there are. Fortnite's unique. It's unique unto itself, but it doesn't have to be. I know every freaking game in the world is adding battle royale to its thing, so it's not going to be that unique. And certainly they have a lot of money right now, but it's not going to be there. Like, they can't possibly make money in year one. I don't see how that's going to happen.
And again, I think as you just said, Rob, like, how is it really making that money? And that's the weird thing about Fortnite. Again, it is a free-to-play game, so obviously they're making money through the cosmetic options and stuff like that. But it's not a game that's really, like, it doesn't really seem designed to pull in the big bucks because of that. And again, it goes back to that question. Is this a Battle Royale market, or is it a Fortnite market? And right now, it seems like it's more of a Fortnite market.
Yes, absolutely, because it is. It's about showing your skills. Like, and most people would say the same thing about any video game. It's about showing your skills against someone else. And why would you want to watch video games? People are always asking me. And I always say, well, it's very entertaining to watch a video game. And I love watching a competitive video game. But if I'm in an arena where there's 100 people, and I know like 5 of them, if I'm lucky. Like, if I'm watching a streamer, I watched one streamer of Fortnite and he managed to win, and I thought that was really awesome because, like, how good do you have to be to win, in Fortnite consistently? But if I only know like one person because I'm watching their stream, and even in a league, if there's 100 people in that league, how am I going to follow any of them? The problem with Battle Royale, and this is the problem with reality TV at the same time, is that week one you've already lost somebody. In the first minute, you've already lost somebody. You don't know who they are at all. And if they're a member of the league and they're consistently losing, who's going to know who that person is? Nobody's going to know who that person is. So just you watch your streamers. They might lose in the first thing, and then 2 minutes later they're playing another game. So watching a streamer play it, or even playing it yourself, is fun because you don't have to wait around an hour. Or not an hour, obviously, but you don't have to wait around to find out that for your favorite player to play again. I don't know. I'm rambling through a lot of problems I have with Fortnite in terms of a league, but I think you've nailed it on the head. I'm just talking around it. It is. It's more about the game than it is about the sport, and but we'll see how that goes.
And I think it's still going to run to that issue of just what are they going to do to keep people interested in playing. Obviously, Fortnite is a step above PUBG in terms of what the content is, but we've yet to see a Battle Royale actually grow in terms of what are they going to offer next. Like, going back to Payday 2, over the last, I think we're up to 4 or 5 years at this point, they've done a lot to expand that game out, changing skill trees, adding in new types of missions, new types of characters, perk decks, so on and so forth. I say this a lot about games as a service. It is a fundamentally different game now than it was then. My question is, what can they add from a mechanics standpoint that's going to change Fortnite in 6 months, a year, 3 years from now? I just don't see it. Now, of course, I'm sure people will say, well, they can just keep adding in new guns. They can add in a new map. Okay, that's great for the short term, but this is the problem when it comes to the meta of any competitive based game. That adding those little changes, it just kind of like wiggles the needle, or it just like sends the scale up and down for a quick second.
Yeah.
When we look at something like Hearthstone, for instance, they've, of course, like any virtual card game developer, have been struggling with that meta. Because, again, yes, you add in a new card, it's all great and impressive for a week, then everybody figures it out, and then we're back to a status quo. This is why a lot of people, or this is why like myself, and I know a lot of Gwen fans, are really chomping at the bit for what they're going to do as their big, grand rebalance of the game to signify going into 1.0. Because Gwen has kind of ran into that very weird issue. Because of how powerful and how different that card design is, it has led to very stabilized metas in the past. Anyone who's played Gwen has probably heard, terms like Spy Nilfgaard. Oh crap! I forgot the term for the monsters, and now all the Gwen watchers are gonna hate me.
You call yourself a Gwen fan.
There we go. There, it's lost right now. Maybe it'll come back later. But the point is, when it comes to a competitive game, there has to be something inconsistent. There has to be variance in terms of each match. When you watch football, soccer, tennis, you name it, the variance is in the actual players. Serena Williams is a different tennis player than I don't know any other female tennis players. But same thing with football. Eagles versus Dallas Cowboys versus...
Wow. I love how you're in New York and you didn't even use a New York team. That's fun. That's good. That's good. Right, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Chris. That would be the easy one, Venus Williams. But, again, there's variance there in terms of how these people play. But the problem when it comes to video games, and this is a very interesting point, probably one we could maybe explore later, is that because video games are built on a shared abstraction on the game engine, there is only so far, you can go with that. Someone who is the greatest Guile player in Street Fighter V, what really separates that person from, let's say, the second greatest Guile player, or the top 10 Guile players? Everybody is still using the same constraints of the abstracted character. When you play football, for instance, there is variance. Again, one person may be different how they throw the ball, or someone else may be better at blocking. But there is that sense of difference. So when you have two teams go at it, there is a greater sense of variance. But again, with someone like Fortnite, what really separates the top 10 Fortnite players from each other? They're all dealing with the same weapons, they all have the same items, they all have the same general play style. So how are you going to take that further without either completely wrecking the meta or completely, leaving things consistent?
Yeah, it just like you said, moving the needle is a perfect way of describing how esports changed the meta like that. And the meta is such an important term in esports, and in regular sports as well. But no one would ever use that term. But it's the overarching strategy. It's a strategic view of things. And in a battle royale, what are you strategizing against? What is your strategy is to survive. How do you strategize against 100 different people regularly? You can come up with a couple of things that work, and maybe you do it a little better than everybody else, and you have a little more skill. But in Dota, in League, in StarCraft, in all of that stuff, in Rocket League, like you say, everybody's kind of dealing with the same thing, and they all have to work together to the one objective that everybody is sharing, even if you're on competing sides. You have to deal with that straight up front and deal with their strategies right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Can you deal with 100 different people's strategies right off the bat? And if so, like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you do that? Do you know like your opponent,
Mm-hmm.
like all of your opponents in any traditional sport, one on one, even as team versus team? Like, you know your opponent, and
Yep.
you can learn your opponent. In a battle royale, you can't do that
Yeah.
until like the very end. And I suppose in a weird way, a battle royale would wind up being a bunch of people teaming together to knock off the top couple of people and then fight amongst each other.
Yeah. And here's something that I was just thinking about regarding that point about the different strategies and what King was saying in chat. That one of the biggest things about esports, especially when we go from casual to grandmaster play, is that when we get to that high level, you can do things, or there's certain strategies that kind of open themselves up. This is one thing I was remember when I was watching Gwent and people talking about the difference between ladder play and the pro ladder. Which, if you don't know what they were talking about, the pro ladder was kind of an invite only season for people who have proven themselves already at that level in Gwent. And so what they were talking about is when it comes to a card game, and I'm sure the same applies to Hearthstone, Magic, you name it. Yes, there is a meta. People know what's the popular strategy or what's the popular deck. But many high level players will kind of throw in an X Factor card. Something that they really like, that they think that will kind of give them that edge. I think it's almost like akin to like people who do street racing who mod their car a specific way or have a specific tune up for it. And at that level, that's when we start to get into that sense of improvisation or their own unique flair or touch. What King was saying about the different styles of high level Fox play in Smash or in Melee. That when we're talking about things at that level, it does open things up for you to kind of put your own mark or your own spin on that. I'm sure for you, Rob, when you're watching Dota or League, or I'm sorry, not League, League of Legends, that people who are like the very top of their respective champions probably have their own unique way of actually using them.
Oh, absolutely. And, players have their own overarching
Mm-hmm.
like tendencies, as do teams in general. Like
Yeah.
teams have their tendencies, players have their tendencies, and those it's like hearing someone with an accent speak a bunch of different languages. It's like it's the same language everyone else is speaking, but it's
Mm-hmm.
got that weird kind of different origin kind of bent to it. Like usually I'm just used to people speaking English with a Hispanic accent, or
Mm-hmm.
a French accent or something like that. But then you get someone who you kind of mix that up a little bit, like the other way around, someone speaking French
Mm-hmm.
with an English accent, or speaking French with a German accent. And when you start identifying that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's that extra layer. Like that player A plays with this style, but now they're playing a different character, just like in Smash Brothers. They
Mm-hmm.
have their quirks and their styles, and they're also applying it to different characters
Mm-hmm.
in different ways. And it's interesting to watch, because it is, once you get very good at watching and once
Mm-hmm.
you've learned a lot about the sport, you can identify this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But as a strict viewer, you're just kind of looking at all the neat and pretty colors, and kind of in awe of the basic core skill of these players. But yeah, once you've watched enough of it, and this includes live sports and everything, you can see little things that the players do to distinguish themselves, just like you say with Gwent or Hearthstone,
Mm-hmm.
that set them apart, that make them special,
Yep.
and make them better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And getting this bringing us back to Fortnite again. I'm not seeing that. Yes, everyone has their different costumes they wear, but like I was trying to watch I watched a few like those ninja compilations that people play like when he does really good wins or when he rages. I just see the same thing. The second they get shot, we start building that roundabout tower that they build up into the sky, and it's like okay, that's great, but how is that any different from your other 5 matches or your other 50 matches? Like, I'm just not seeing enough there that makes me want to go, I want to watch someone play this consistently. I want to watch a tournament of it.
Well, that is the one thing that you kind of have to wait and see, because
Mm-hmm.
with the way this brand new, I apologize for keeping to talk about this, but it is the one esport I know best. and that's the NBA 2K League, which is new, and I only refer to this because I know it, not because I'm constantly trying to pimp it, which I'm also trying to do. But like, no, it is. It's, you see these people and they play the game a certain way. It started off with this tournament, which none of these players had ever like played in this league before. They all knew each other from other, professional interactions, but the way the league works is slightly different. And so they all kind of figured out these strategies and these metas in this first tournament. And then when the season started, all these teams adjusted to some of the things that worked in that first tournament. And when you have all these people who are at the same level, basically the super best in the world kind of level, get together, the things that worked before, and one of the things that people talk about in Pro-Am, which is the PvP, like team versus team online play for NBA 2K, they talk about something called a 5-out, and that's been like OP, where you have just 5 people playing around the perimeter. And everyone was complaining about how that would come into the league and everybody abusing it and cheese on it and that kind of thing. And it went away like that because the pro players knew exactly how to respond to it. And I feel like in Fortnite, you got to wait to see when you get 100 people who are all top tier and they all know how that works. Well, they're going to do their normal thing, at first. And then they're going to realize that it doesn't work and they have to copy someone who's doing it better. And that's how then you'll see that meta kind of open up and start to flow and become a living thing. But in Fortnite, because there's so many people, you don't know what's going to work, and I don't know how people are going to react to it, because you can't really watch your opponent change their strategy to you, because there's, like I said, there's 99 other people, or even, if it's a small game, like 19 other people or whatever. Like, I don't know the aspects of Fortnite in terms of how many people can play, but like, you have that many people, how do you respond to their strategies? You can learn new strategies by watching their YouTube channels, but what else can you do? You can't observe how they react to you. You can't even observe other people because they're too far away, or they're unknown to you. As soon as you see them, you kind of have to start attacking them or run away. So it's hard to see what they're doing. Maybe it's not. Maybe good Fortnite players, some of you guys on chat would know, and maybe you can talk to that a little better than me.
But yeah, as you were saying, Rob, that's one of the big points, that you can learn, like, the meta can be like the popular thing, especially when you're doing like a casual ladder or a casual season play. Of course, if every casual player sees that pro player so on uses this kind of deck or this kind of gun, they're going to repeat that. And that was just the meta for the larger audience. But once you get to the high level play and you have all the people who know all the tricks looking at it, they're going to go, yeah, I can't just copy this because everyone knows it. So I got to do my own thing. I'm going to put my own spin. And then that goes to the next person and the next person. And this is why in Gwen, a lot of people, or a lot of the high level players, prefer to play on the pro ladder, because they know they're playing against people who know it all already. They know they can't just do a simple strategy or just do the bare generic thing like a Spy Nilfgaard or a Machine Northern Realms, because they know they're up against people who have seen that, they've played against dozens if not hundreds of it, so they're going to have their own unique takes on it. And this is why that kind of high-level play becomes a lot more interesting, because everybody's going to try and pull their own specific X factor. It's the same thing with League and Dota. Everybody knows all the champions already, so how do you put your own spin on it to throw somebody off? Even something like CSGO is the same thing. Like, when I was watching E-League plays of it, they talk about, oh, this person, he is the sniper rifle master, so they want to get him a sniper rifle as quickly as possible because he's the best with that. But this guy's really good with the shotgun, so we want to focus on him with that. And it's that kind of differentiation that makes these games a lot more interesting for someone playing, or for someone both playing and somebody watching. The same thing goes for the fighting genre. Like, you see this when you watch like EVO or any grand tournament, that when somebody chooses a specific character, everybody goes, oh, like they know that when, again, I know a few popular fighting game people like PR Balrog, Sonic Fox, but I don't know what characters they play. But they know that they switch their character in like the middle of a tournament or at the grand tournament player, Grandmaster, everybody goes, uh-oh, now it's getting serious, like he's switching to so on. and because they know that they play that character a specific way, and that creates that sense of personality and creates that sense of variance.
Well, and also there's that whole strat thing. It's like,
Yeah, oh
well, they
yes.
pulled out this new character, and you're like, oh my god, they must have figured something out with that character that nobody else knows or nobody hardly uses, and that's also very exciting.
Oh yes.
I know when you talked about CS:GO, one of the things that as a casual user or a casual viewer, you come in and you're like, well, isn't it just how can someone be good at a sniper and not good at a, and they're not just, I mean, it's just pointing and clicking, right? It's all the same. And once you realize the subtleties and like, sure, if they're playing against you, they can use whatever they want and they will kill you. But like against a fellow master, a fellow professional,
Oh yeah.
I mean, every tiny little, if you're just that much better at a sniper than your teammate, well, you're the one who's going to do that, and the teammate's going to go do what they're better at than you are, and that those might be millimeters that you can measure that in, but that's what makes an esport amazing, just like a professional sport.
Yeah.
I will never be able to dunk a basketball, but I can't shoot a basketball either. I could not even pass a basketball at that level. Like the subtleties that go into every movement. And so with football as well, like every movement, every play, every motion, all the subtleties that go into that, and all the little tricks that you have to know on a microscopic level.
Yeah.
Learning about those details as a fan is very rewarding, and I feel like in esports, they try so much harder, especially the ones that are like moving that needle, to make sure that those tiny little changes send ripples throughout the whole community.
Yeah.
And make it more exciting for a viewer, so that things never get dull. And like you say, I can't see that with Fortnite, but we'll see. Shrug, maybe it'll be awesome.
Who knows? But let me check our time because we kind of gone on a little rant here. So I guess here's my last thoughts, and then we'll look at some of the upcoming weird games, and then we'll get to our final topic for our little chat. But yeah, as you said, Rob, there are those subtle little differences that can go into these plays. How someone aims the mouse when they're using a sniper rifle, how someone reacts when they're under fire, and these are all major parts that are the differences between casual, core, and then grandmaster play. Like we said earlier, two people who are grandmasters at Fox or grandmasters at Chung-Li or Balrog or anything like that, they have their own way of playing it. And that's what makes things very exciting. It's when you start to say, oh, Sonic Fox's, I can't even think of what character he plays. He plays a lot of fighting games. But when he plays, let's say he plays Batman in Injustice 2, well, that's different than when Sonic Fox is Superman or Flash or anything like that. Because, as you said, Rob, they put in enough at that level in terms of design to allow for those subtle differences in how people play. Somebody may be better at doing multi-hit combos of the character, while someone else may be better at zoning. And you can play that character in different ways because of it. But with something like Battle Royale right now, everything kind of is homogenized because there's just not a lot of variance built into the mechanics. Again, everybody knows what the top gun is. Everybody knows what's the best kind of tower to build. So it's going to be a lot harder, I think, to convince people that there is more to Fortnite than just throwing 100 people into a match and then craziness unfurls.
Yeah, and teaching people what that is going to be even harder. Yeah, there's just too many people.
But with that said, it's time for our new little segment here where we're going to talk about some of the weird games that are going to be coming out, which I'm sure everybody loves. Let's see what we got this week. Okay, we have Triggering Simulator. Didn't we talk about that last week, Rob?
I don't recall it.
Alright, let's see what this is all about. Wait. So it's a game that's supposed to mock horrible first-person shooters. Okay, and one of the features is that it was cobbled together in a couple of minutes.
That's great. That's a good feature.
Let's see. That Gay Nation game continues to be pushed back, Rob. I don't think we're ever going to get it.
No, it seems like it. Just waiting for disappointment on that one.
I know everybody watching this is dying for us to do that live Let's Play of it. Let's see. There's a game called Boo Boo Bananas, which is apparently supposed to be a Choo Choo Rocket style game from back in the Dreamcast era. So I guess that could actually be a legitimate game. Oh, that's lovely, King. Somebody's already making a game based on school shootings, or another one, I should say.
I saw, the active shooter. I saw that. I read that article. Interesting. I read an article, I should say.
Let's see. There's a game called Russian Fishing 4. Apparently, it was popular enough to get 3 other games. But it's an engaging fishing simulator where you're fishing in Russia. There's not much more to say about that.
There it is. Yeah, there it is.
Let's see. Chocolate Makes You Happy 6. Okay. Was there 6 games to this, or I don't know what the objective is. The goal is to keep the cookies on the chocolate bar for some time to pass the level. Oh, okay. That's a thing. Yep, Half-Life 3 is coming at some point.
It'll be here.
Let's see, another game with Kim Jong-un, Kim and Prostitute. Okay, that sounds exciting. Ooh, Hentai 3018. We're going to the future. I'm sure
wow,
that's going to be something there.
Oh yeah. Is it? Are they going to be discussing the potential future of hentai in the year 3018?
I don't even want to click on that one to try and look at that one. I may get flagged if we do that. Let's see, another game translated from Japan, In the World and You and Me, The Forgots Legend. I think maybe I could write a better game title here. Oh, hey, Mike, thanks for coming on. We're at the crazy part of our stream before we get to our big topic. Okay, some very weird stuff. Oh, here's a game called What's My Gender? I'm sure that won't offend anybody. Oh, we're getting some really good ones this week, Rob. It seems like the indie community has listened to us.
They've responded. Yeah, they have responded to you. You know what? We can't let this segment be dull anymore. Up our game.
Let's see. Club Dance Party VR. That looks like a legitimate game. Wait. With attractive partner, couple dance just for 2 of you. That's one of the things. Okay, so I don't think we're going to be doing that. Oh, that looks like a disturbing one. I can't say the name of that one because I think it may get me in trouble. There's a game called Turn Up Jeans. What? I don't... It's a game about tucking in your jeans. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. Anyone want to respond to that one?
Turn Up Jeans. Done. I'm in. Sign me up.
2 more pages and then we'll get back to being serious here. Let's see. Nothing good there. Oh, a game that I was playing, Distorted, is coming out. It's a game, it's like a open world survival game, but it's all with handmade like claymation characters.
Oh, I love that. Back when Clay Fighters, that reminds me of way back in the day. Clay Fighters, love that game.
Cultist Simulator is coming out, which I put in my key request. Hopefully, Alexi is looking at it there. And I think that will do it for some crazy games, unless anything else pops out immediately. X-Ray Hospital, okay. Cereal Soup.
That's...
Cereal Soup is an MMO-style animal role-playing game. Take control of an animal and... But why is it called Cereal Soup?
So you would click on it.
But it looks like there's only 2 species right now. So how... What?
They sound like a dedicated designer to their game.
Okay. Well, I think with that, let's get back to things before we just spend the next 20 minutes. So, here's our final topic, and this is one that I wanted to bring up here. I think I'll be doing an industry insight talking more about this later on. But this past week, Polygon had a very interesting article where they did a post-mortem on Splatterhouse 2010. I really liked the game, but it had a lot of issues, which now looking at this article, very interesting to see what happened. And I shared it with Rob just before the stream, so I think you had a chance to at least skim it, right?
Yeah, but I'd forgotten all of it already. I had forgotten all of it already.
Well, for those of you who didn't read the article or didn't miss the news, I'll put a link to it in chat there. But what happened was Namco back, in the early teens or early thousands, wanted to do a game or a remake of Splatterhouse. So they contracted the studio Bottle Rocket Entertainment, who was made up of former people who did Mark of Cree. And so they were going to try and bring Splatterhouse to the new century. And Namco had an idea of what they wanted. Obviously, as the IP holder, they wanted the game to go a specific way. But what happened was the heads of Ball Rocket wanted to do their own thing with it. And they wanted to push towards a very different style. They wanted to be more of an action game rather than like a brawler or a beat 'em up. And there was a lot of pushbacks and arguments over what they wanted Splatterhouse 2010 to be. They wanted things to be more like from the concept art they put up, they were going for more of like I want to say more like a Hellraiser, more of a disturbing or gross out kind of thing, while Namco probably wanted more of it to be kind of like the B-movie style disturbing. Something like Evil Dead, or something along those lines. And there was a lot of arguments over what the combat system was going to be, what the style was, and basically Ball Rocket began to lie to Namco about what they were doing. It was very similar to that X-Men Legend game, that the big exposé that's happened with Silicon Knights, and how they kind of took the money they were supposed to make for that, and they funneled that into Two Human, and kind of put like their C or D tier on X-Men Legend just to get the game out. And so as the story went on, Namco got continually frustrated with Bottle Rocket, and basically they pulled the money out. And they kind of had to bring in a second team to finish the game out of the remains of what Bottle Rocket did. And it just ended up with a case of the creator's vision clashing with the publisher's vision. And it's a really good, I think, kind of microcosm of the old argument of art versus the business when it comes to the game industry. And it's a very disturbing topic, I think, depending upon who you talk to, because I'm sure there are plenty of indie developers who see this as, publisher demanding control over the creative vision. But then if you look at things from the business side, it's a case of, the quote-unquote artists get, the artistic vision get in the way of actually putting out a product. So, as I said at the start, with your background with game producing, I really want to get your thoughts on this, Rob, as to, what kind of sense do you make out of this?
It makes complete 100% sense. It's such an old thing. Now, when Colin Sullivan came up with Indie Voyage, excuse me, our vision was that we would not. We didn't have the money to fund any indie games, and I know one of the things people either expect out of a publisher or believe publishers do is provide funds. Now, we've provided help and knowledge, but I know one thing in particular. We didn't ask for any dimes up front. We didn't say we were going to give any dimes up front. We helped in marketing as we could, and we did spend some money, but we never put in a lot of funds, because there's a couple of things that happen when money gets involved. It's when you're paying somebody to do, you're basically paying for a service.
Yep.
And as the developer, you're providing a service, regardless of what you think that service is supposed to be. That is one of those common things you need to get on the same page with your publisher on. And this goes from the indie thing all the way up to the big company. And when you tell me a big company does this, it's a little shocking to me. Most people get into the games business so that they will make their own games. And one thing I've seen is a lot of companies will do that, realize that they can't, they don't have the money to do so, they don't have the time to wait for it to get popular,
Mm-hmm.
or when it releases, it's not popular at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so they turn into a third-party developer, which means someone comes and pays them to do a job. And most of these companies that get into that very quickly become professionals, and they will do everything they ask as well as they can. And that argument between the publisher and the developer comes up then as to, like, why do you keep changing your mind, or why do we have to keep working on stuff that you've already paid for and you're not paying us anymore? Like, those kind of questions are the really common ones. But it seems like when you come down to creative license,
Mm-hmm.
and you as a developer are expecting to have it, and you as the publisher are expecting that the developer will at least come through. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're remaking a game or something, I feel like as the publisher, I'm just saying, well, people liked the game, we want to bring it back, give us more Splatterhouse, give us more of X. And they say, well, we want this to be not X but Y. We'll put the same name on it, but it's going to be Y. And then that by itself is like, well, we didn't ask for that, we asked for this. And well, then it all comes down to, but it's our vision and it's our creative project. And for an indie developer, that's exactly how it is. Now, as a publisher who does not have that particular, who is not giving money, well, all you can do is recommend. And to me, that is fine. Like, all you can do is recommend. But you get to that point where either a developer doesn't want to listen, or believes or knows that they are correct. And it goes both ways. Like, the publisher can know that they're correct, and the developer can know they're correct, and no one knows who's correct until it comes out or until it finishes. But it's a painful process, and it's one that, if you've not gone through it before, it can be crushing, because on sometimes I'll have a developer who has their vision and it's locked in, and they are moving forward fast and furious. And for me, as a publisher of an indie game, I'm like, oh, perfect. Like, that's what you want. You help where you can, and you get them moving along. And anytime they're stuck, you can help them get unstuck. So when someone knows what they want to do, but if someone doesn't know what they want to do, then it becomes a pain, because then something gets drawn out. And for a publisher who is especially paying money, something getting drawn out like that, people missing deadlines, well, you're basically just losing money. Everyone's losing money.
Yep.
And the developer needs to realize that they're losing money as well. They're losing everybody money. And the publisher can do that too. Publisher can make bad decisions, and I've done that before myself. And that really in the end hurt everybody. But it's that back and forth. The developer and the publisher need to get on that same page, and they always need to be on that same page. Having been in situations where I am on that page and I'm not on that page, it's frustrating. And so when you are footing the bill, when you're the one footing the bill, whether you're the developer or the publisher, in our case it's the developer, and in this case it's the publisher, that makes you frustrated. You expect it to be done the way you want it to be done, because money. If the money is what makes it happen. So that really, it's just communication at that point. And when I hear of a top tier developer not understanding the core concept of they're getting paid, and they better damn well know what it is they're supposed to provide, that's confusing to me, and it's a little irresponsible, I guess. But hey, I mean, it just happens so often, and it's always going to happen, and it's going to keep happening. And I don't know, it's frustrating. It's a really frustrating thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
And 2 points I want to touch on from what you said there, Rob. Like, the first one, again, about them providing a service. As you said, once money comes into the deal, that does change things. And it's not the case of them just working on a game on their spare time. They have a vision that they're going to do, and then the publisher, they show it off to publishers and say, would you like to support this game, yes or no? This is Namco saying, we want to do this, we're going to pay you to do it, so we want you to do this. And the developer saying, no, I want to do Y. And it's like, no, you can't do that. If the publisher is giving you money to do a service, you have to do that service, or you're being irresponsible or unresponsible. My mouth is dying there. But irresponsible. And the point And like it goes back again with X-Men Legends point that if you take money and you're not delivering, that's a breach of that contract. And it pretty much is going to blacklist a studio, but in many cases when this happens, usually the studio goes out in the process of doing it.
Yeah. And again, that's kind of what happened to Indie Voyage. It's all about communication. What I imagine happened, and I would like to read the whole article to maybe they already discussed this, and you can let me know if they do. I can imagine what happened is that Namco came up and said, "Hey, we love this with this game. We loved your vision for it. We want to give you money so that you can bring that same thing back." And I feel like the misunderstanding would have been that Namco wanted their creative vision, period, and not the creative vision as it's associated with that old game. To me, that misinterpretation came on the developer who got their eyes got really big and said, "Oh, we can do whatever we want. We have total freedom to do whatever we want." When Namco's like, "Well, no, within the confines of the game you made, within that confines that we liked what you did, do it again. Not we liked what you did there, so do whatever."
And again, like with Namco, they had a specific vision from the original design of Splatterhouse to go forward. And this is why publishers are very protective of their IPs. Like Nintendo is not going to give the Mario brand to a third-party developer and say do with it what you want. No, they're not doing that. If you're going to play with Nintendo to make a game based on one of their characters, they are going to have a lot of contingencies and stipulations in that contract. But the other point I want to bring up, and this is I think one of the hardest things, has to do with you never know, as you said, Rob, you never know how a game is going to turn out. You don't know what game is going to be that $1 billion or Game of the Year bestseller. It could be, you could have an amazing game that does horribly. And again, you have examples, I have examples, I'm sure everybody in chat has examples of a game that was really great but didn't earn the money that it deserved. And with something like the Splatterhouse incident, we don't know, we're never going to know, was Bottle Rocket's vision for Splatterhouse? Could that have been a Game of the Year bestseller? Could the game that they wanted to make be outright amazing? We don't know. And this is where that passion for game industry that drives a lot of developers comes from. You don't know that crazy idea is going to take off. Again, people look at games like Undertale, Darkest Dungeon, even something like Five Nights at Freddy's and think, okay, that game was, a huge, insanely, there's never anything like it, so let me put all my time and effort into my game, and I'm sure I'll get similar results. But, like I always say, those games, the flip of the coin could have been, they flopped. We could be in a world where Five Nights at Freddy's never took off, and it could be, and nobody's ever heard of it. The same goes for Undertale. And the studios who do manage to succeed, they understand both the art and the business. They understand at the end of the day, yes, they have artistic and creative vision, but they still have to put out a product, something that people want. Again, we've talked about when we chatted with Jake Burgett and Cliff Harris, who understand that. They want to make the games they want to make, yes, but they still want to make something that earns money. They want to make a living off of their games. And you just don't know at the end of the day what game is going to do that. So you have to mitigate as much risk as you can. And in Namco's case, they want to make something that was adhere to the original license. They didn't want a crazy, over-the-top, completely genre-breaking version of Splatterhouse. But Balrog felt, what if we go over and beyond? Maybe this game will be the next God of War or Devil May Cry. But as you said, once money changes hands like that, you don't have that freedom. If the contract says you must listen to Namco or listen to your publisher, you gotta do that. They're the ones who are paying you. And like I said, I guess here's a question for you, Rob. Is there a difference in, let's say the developer already has the idea. Let's say they've built a prototype, they've built an alpha, and they're shopping that around the publishers. At that point, is there more of a creative, like, do they hold more of the creative vision in that scenario versus the publisher saying, I want to make, let's say, a Hello Kitty mobile game, and I hire you to do that, so that's what you're making?
Well, it's an interesting thing there, because having worked in an educational, I worked with educational games for Disney and for a third-party studio, Way Forward, in where we did a Nickelodeon game. Now, those are two very different sides of the fence, but both IP owners were super protective of that IP. Obviously, you know, you get Disney and you get Nickelodeon, but it was a SpongeBob SquarePants game.
Yeah.
And there were things that we had to adhere to. Like, we had to write a script for the game and send it to the to the SpongeBob SquarePants writers, who then approved it or disapproved it. And, you know, it came back approved with notes, and that's great. But so you can make whatever you want with that IP as long as they approve it, and you know that caveat. And like for Disney, we would get a game, and then we would basically go through a brand checklist. Just say, hey, okay, so is this character drawn properly? Is it flagging us in any particular area? And there's I mean, as you can imagine, the detail level of descriptions as to how a character must look are, incredible.
Oh, yes.
In Disney, like the access that I had to that, I was just, oh my god, this is amazing. I was just geeking out on all this stuff. But like, yeah, you have to follow a lot of that stuff to the letter. And as for the game itself, well, it just can't. The flags it has to hit are basically like, it's got to play, it's not got to break, it's got to make sure that it doesn't, you know, go outside of the general theme of what this character or character's world represents. And then, of course, out the side of your mouth at that exact same time, you've got Epic Mickey coming out, and you're like, well, that's out the door. Like, Mickey would never act like that according to the brand checklist we have, or look like that. But whatever, you know, they decided, they signed off on it, they made that deal.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is one of those situations where whoever was the studio that was making it, whether it was the studio or whether it was the developers who were on the Disney side, decided to go like anti Disney's vision of Mickey for Epic Mickey. That's a weird thing. I mean, that studio eventually closed down not too long after. So that series, while it may have been popular at first, it didn't go anywhere with the sequel. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So the success level of that vision was good at first and then bad. And I know a lot of brand protectors are going to be protective of it because they know what sold this whole time. Like when you have an IP, when you're using Mickey or the princesses or whatever in your game, you're using them, like, Disney knows that they're popular for a reason and they don't want to ruin that reason. Like, so follow the rules, we'll both make money. That's where that comes in. So I don't know if that answered your question or I just went off on a tangent. I just quickly wanted to mention to Mike, we've talked about the whole publisher thing a lot, but I love talking about it. Maybe we can go over that topic again later as to whether or not indies need Kickstarters or publishers. I know I am on both sides of the fence depending on the hour of the day. So it's a fun topic for me.
Yeah, like a few weeks ago, I spoke with game developer Ian Lobb, who's been doing things for, I think, over 10 years now. And during that discussion, he talked about how when he worked at one of like his early studios, they were making licensed games. And usually the publisher said, we want you to make a game that involves this IP, that could have maybe this mechanic in it, and then, you know, everything else, do what you want. You have complete freedom other than those stipulations. And he said that, yeah, when we were working on those games, if they want to make a game on, it was, I feel like, a British show. It's like, yes, you know, we're making it based on that show. Like, we can't get around that. Like, there is room to be creative. But at the end of the day, if you are being hired by someone to do something, you got to do it. And if they, as you said earlier, with working with like Disney and Nickelodeon IPs, if they have a checklist saying, you know, SpongeBob must be like this, or I don't know, the Disney princesses cannot, you know, get into direct combat or stuff like that, Yeah, you can't make a Dark Souls game with Disney princesses if that's not what is on your checklist.
Right. Well, certainly not if you don't want to get sued. That's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it, no, it's absolutely true. And yeah, when the publisher has something in those regards, and in that sense, I don't think Disney was the publisher. Nickelodeon wasn't the publisher.
Mm-hmm.
It was Leapfrog or whatever educational Fisher Price or VTech. Those three educational companies, they were the publishers.
Mm-hmm.
They had to buy rights to the IP. And so, in that regard, it's this kind of a joint venture publishing effort in a way. But like
Mm-hmm.
when it was Leapfrog paying for the thing and a third party developer is making it, again, it becomes even stricter. Because like Leapfrog is footing the bill to Disney for however much it costs to use that IP for that type of game. And they don't want that money to go out the window, so they're probably going to be even stricter on their developer to make sure it gets done right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then what happened with Bottle Rocket is that after, like, as they were running into that trouble, the game they were apparently working on a action game based off of the Flash that fell through. So they had to bring that team to then work on the team that got kicked out after Splatterhouse and Namco kind of had that issue. So they had two different teams working on the same game, trying to fix what the first team did while trying to put something else into it. And it's one of those things. It's like a slow-moving car crash of trying to watch what happened. And someone left a comment earlier that I think was also true, that the people, like the lower level people at Bottle Rocket who were just following orders, they wanted to follow what Namco was doing. But again, you had the creative heads kind of butting heads at that point.
Yeah, I will say that this is one of those stories that it's a tough one to tell because I'm very skewed and don't want to use any kind of like. Well, I'll just tell it. How about that? Let's just go into it. So this was with the Nickelodeon thing, and like I said, I co-wrote the script for the SpongeBob thing. We sent it. It was approved and came back. The creative director decided that he wasn't involved in that, which nobody wanted to be involved in this educational game in a company that was building its own creative stuff at the same time. Now, he decided he wasn't involved, and so he will write the script. And this is after it had been approved, mind you. He wrote it. I had to send it out. I didn't have a choice. I was a hired hand more than anything as a producer. Sent it out. The Nickelodeon sent it back, basically saying, "What the hell just happened? What is this? Give us that other script back." And so we did. I felt a little justified there. It was a little bit fun for me, but like that will happen in a company that where people don't like or don't know how to do third party development. If you want to do complete creative control stuff, there's two paths in games. One, there's fast money in third party development, and by fast money I mean there's money there. If you have skills, you can sell yourself, you can make someone else's product, and that's not hard to find. It's not hard to find that work. It's hard to finish that work and do it because of all the problems that we just glossed over. But if you want to make your own stuff, if you want to do your purely creative stuff, you got to figure out a way to either work within the very specific parameters set by a publisher, or you have to say, no, I'm not doing that. I want to do my own thing, period. And it sounds like at this company, they had those people on the upper level who are like, no, I'm in this business to be creative and do my own thing, and we have to deal with these third party deals, whatever, I'll make sure I get my hand. And again, I don't mean to put in like that attitude like that's exactly how they acted. I have no idea. But it just seems like that's a reasonable assumption that they really wanted to do their creative thing, that and they now had money to do it, and they didn't see it as we had a job to do. They saw it as money to do my thing.
Yep. And I think that is sentence right there, Rob, that thing, it's a difference between a job versus just having the money to do what you want. That, I think, opens up a Pandora's box of a conversation we could have. That's another hour if we're not careful here.
Yeah.
And Going back to a point I think you were talking about what the chat was regarding Kickstarter, crowdfunding like that. That's I think why a lot of indie developers have, and even studio developers have moved to that indie path, is that you are given the freedom, and for a lot of people, it's a win-win. I get to make my creative game, and now I have this whole audience of people who are going to pay me to work on the game that I want to make, and I can do whatever I want with it. It's like,
Yeah.
What's the downside there? And
Yeah.
again, we see this issue of developers struggling when it comes to the business side and just thinking that they can do what they want at all times. And yes, if you're just making games for a hobby or you're just doing this in your part time, yeah, that's fine. But if you just took, $500,000 of people's money and you're trying to do that, and you're lying or you're not focusing on it as much as you should, you're going to be held accountable for that. Somebody on our Discord, I think it could have been Chris. I don't know. I'm still in trouble referencing the people chatting here to the Discord, but he posted about a Kickstarter that he was following where they got the money, it succeeded, but now they're reporting that the lead developer is basically, he's not giving people the money that he promised. Oh, thank you. It was right. It was. Oh no, wait. No, it was a Meat Shield, who I'm not sure what his chat handle here is. I thought you could have been GB, but he was posting about how the developer is not giving the money to the people he owes. The project is stalled, and it's like, what is the recourse there? Where the money's already been given. This Kickstarter succeeded a few years ago. But is there anything you can hold developers to? And that's one of the big issues. Again, when we're dealing with a traditional developer-publisher relationship, that publisher has stipulations in that contract that if you don't do what we say, there are consequences. But if you're an indie developer and you just crowdfunded a game where you're going that route, you're not really held to anyone. You can technically say, I'm sure someone's about to comment, about fans. Yes, the fans can get on your case, but they can yell and scream all they want, but they can't exactly issue a lawsuit or demand that you treat your employees better.
Yeah. Yeah, the business part of it is tough, and Isaac, I think that you being able to talk to that as someone who's actually doing that work right now is great. It can be very rewarding, and one of the things that I feel most strongly about in terms of creative process is that I feel like true creativity comes out of restraints and the restrictions that you are given. So if you're given a contract, you have to do this thing. There's a lot less pressure, and it's great because when you have a blank canvas, there's it's nothing but pressure. It really is.
Oh God, if I had a nickel for as many indie developers I've spoken to who said that same thing, I may not even need a patron at this point. But yeah, it's true. When you have constraints, it forces you to think creatively, and more importantly, it forces you to compartmentalize what your idea is. If I know that I'm building a 2D platformer, that's the extent of my skills, that's what my engine can do, that's going to limit some of those choices. I don't have to think about, well, what if I want to have 3D high stakes combat like Dark Souls? Well, no, I can't do that. That's a choice that's off the table. And it allows you to start finalizing and fine tuning what your idea is going to be. But as we've said before, there are plenty, and I do mean plenty of developers who go for that YOLO strategy. Or, the fast burn syndrome that we talked about. That I had this really great idea, it was great, so now I'm going to put, all my money into this crazy idea, and I'm sure it's going to pay off dividends. And I'm going to do whatever I want. But if you don't have a solid plan, you then start to fall behind. Or let's say the idea doesn't work. Then what do? If you just wasted the last year and a half of money on something, on your crazy harebrained scheme, now what? I mean, usually it's your studio's done. Unless you had a lot more money coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's tough. And if you do your own thing, I highly, highly, highly recommend at least getting a business partner or something, because to do it on your own is, oof, it is tough. It's
Yeah.
tough.
And there's a lot more that I want to talk about regarding the art versus the business side of things. But I know we are almost at 2 hour mark.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's time to wrap things up because we were only supposed to go for an hour. And I hope everybody's enjoying these little picture-in-picture changes I've been doing throughout the thing. Only 2 hours. And plus it's Memorial Day weekend too. We should all be out resting and relaxing. But I'm trying to think if there's anything closing I want to say. I guess for you, Rob, do you have anything final thoughts?
Again, I mean, the final thoughts. Really, this discussion is very complex and has a lot of problems. But when it comes down to it, yeah, I just feel like, if you're a publisher and a developer, you have to be on the same page, and that goes for both parties. Like where Namco's standing, they probably should have been more clear about exactly what they wanted and checked in frequently. And on the other side, the Bottle Rocket side, like they should have really understood exactly what checks have to be checked off. And it sounds like if you hide things a little bit, then you're actually actively trying not to do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It does not help anybody ever.
And I guess my final point, like what made things very scummy, was they said that at the end of the day, when they decided to pull support, Namco, the lead director tried to throw Namco under the bus, saying, "Oh, they're just stifling our creative vision. It's their fault the game didn't turn out well." And Namco had to release kind of a counter statement against that. And as I guess the conclusion to that story, according to the report, the game cost just about $20 million after all the issues, all the secondary developers came on, and it did not earn anywhere near that. And the sad part was one of the people who came on, he said that what you got in the box at the end was 75% of what we were going for. And that, I always hate to hear that. Because I like Splatterhouse. I saw that there was some good in there. But, again, it raises that point. If let's say Namco decided to give the second team, more funding, could they have put together a 100% game that could have earned like an 8 or a 9 on Metacritic? That could have been that Game of the Year winner. Was that original game? Could it have been that amazing title? Again, you never know, and the only thing you can really do at the end of the day is just mitigate as much risk as possible. And again, I'm holding back like 20, 30 more minutes of topics in my head, but let's wrap it up here before, again, the folks watching this, they're having fun. They're probably sipping drinks and having a nice little snack. But for us, the talent here, we need to rest and relax today. But with that said, we're going to wrap things up here. For those of you who've been tuning in, thank you so much for watching us, whether it's live during Memorial Day weekend or recorded. If you're watching this recorded and would like to get access to this early and ad-free, check out our VIP support over on patreon.com/GWBycer. I'll go through my streaming schedule in a second, but for you, Rob, I know with your computer issues you're probably behind, but have you had a chance to do any more streaming?
No, I'd hope to do some this week because I actually have the week off. But yeah, until I can get this current brick situation solved, then I'm just on my laptop. I'm not gonna be able to stream from that. So
okay. Well, hopefully you'll get things fixed soon, and when you do, you can catch Rob at twitch.tv/IndieVoyageRob, correct?
Yeah. For right now, I'm just posting an awful lot of clips from the NBA League, the NBA 2K League.
Alright, for you folks tuning in now, if you'd like to get access to our Discord channel, the basic level is open. You'll find a link to it down in the description below. And again, there will be a live developer cast Tuesday night at 10 p.m. EST with Brian Cronin, and possibly another one either Wednesday or Thursday. I'll make that announcement. I will be... the grab bag voting will be going up, I think, tomorrow. I'll be making a little video, and there probably won't be too much else going up Monday for Memorial Day. I'll have to see how things go. I'll be back later tonight around 9:30, 10, and I think I will do that classic play of Devil May Cry 2, so that way we can get that done, and then get to Devil May Cry 3, which is the good stuff. But we'll be back next Sunday around 3 p.m. Eastern for another discussion. Once again, Rob, it's been great hanging out with you, and I'm sure we'll talk again on Discord.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Enjoy it. Enjoy it as always.
All right, folks. So with that said, have a great rest of Memorial Day weekend, and I'll see you all later. Until then, take care.